pet crocodile, a millionaire dog whose life is the envy of even rich people, a cat with a very piercing purr, and many others. In this episode, I will show you pets that broke all records and that will definitely surprise you. Let's go. What's the first thing we think of when it comes to pets? I think most people immediately think of dogs and cats, hamsters, pigs, or parrots, but definitely not crocodiles. However, the people of Indonesia have a completely different view on this. In 1997, a man named Mohammed bought a small, very young crocodile for a few bucks. It was caught by fishermen, and no one knows what they would have done with him. It was sort of a goodwill gesture by Mohammed. But the years passed, the crocodile grew, and the affection for him among the man's entire family gradually increased. Since then, the reptile has managed to reach a weight of 440 pounds. Not only the members of Mohammed's family, but even their neighbors liked the crocodile. Kojak, that's the reptile's name, is not aggressive at all. Despite the fact that there are 3 small children in the house, the crocodile doesn't hurt any of them. He simply lives his life peacefully in the backyard pool, eats what's offered, and patrols the neighborhood. Such a good-natured reptile is visited by tourists from different cities and even countries. One of them was even ready to buy the crocodile for $75,000, but the owner didn't part with the family favorite. I think this is one of the most unusual pets that people have. It's even hard to imagine a more dangerous and at the same time extraordinary pet. A millionaire dog. When a wealthy person passes away, their entire fortune is usually inherited. However, if there are no suitable people, the money can be given to some charitable foundation or to a pet. This dog, named Gunther VI, became a millionaire this way. The dog was the inheritor of the eccentric German Countess Carlotta Liebenstein, who died in 1992 and had no inheritors. But she loved animals very much, so she bequeathed millions to her pet, Gunther III. The pets changed, the Gunther dynasty became bigger and bigger, and now Gunther VI has inherited a fortune that's grown to $500 million thanks to real estate investments. Am I the only one who can hardly imagine how exactly a dog could invest in anything? Okay, it was actually the work of a regular employee close to the family who handled the money. I mean, he bought the dog an incredible mansion, arranged flights on his private jet, and so on. I bet he also put some of the money in his own pocket, which makes the decision to leave the inheritance to the dog seem a bit rash and strange to me. Almost immediately after buying the property, Gunther and his trusted persons appeared at an auction in Italy where they bought a rare mushroom, a white truffle, for $3 million. It turns out that the rich dog adores this elite delicacy, cooked by a personal chef. Many people believe that the dog himself, as well as these stories, are nothing more than a common project to attract attention. But be that as it may, Gunther's money and real estate exist, and the 4-legged creature lives better than many directors of large corporations and banks. The purring Merlin. Moving on to other animal records, we have the cat who loves to purr more than others in the world. His name is Merlin, and he got into the Guinness Book of World Records as the cat with the loudest purr. This pet comes from England. His owner took him from the shelter when the cat was a couple of years old. She took care of him, showed him what life can look like, and he repaid her in full. He made her and their common house famous. One afternoon, for the sake of interest, the woman decided to check the volume of her cat's purring. He was very loud and sometimes even prevented her from sleeping properly. The app showed record-breaking 100 decibels. This was an unbelievable value, and the woman immediately appealed to the Book of Records. An independent expert examination arrived with the help of professional equipment, and people found that the volume was actually about 70 decibels, which was still more than enough to set the record. By the way, for the comparison, the purr of an ordinary domestic cat averages 25 decibels. Doesn't your tail get in the way? This question has been addressed more than once to the wolfhound in the following story, who made it into the Book of Records for a reason. The name of this handsome creature is Cian, which means brave warrior in Irish. This perfectly characterizes the wolfhound because he's always calm and never shows aggression. At the same time, he's ready to stand up for the weak. But the dog became famous for another reason. He is the owner of the longest tail in the world, The length of Keon's tail is almost 31 inches. The Guinness World Record staff visited the owner's home in Belgium, presented an official certificate, and recorded the cutest video with the record breaker. I wonder what caused him to have such a long tail. Probably genetics played its role, because Irish Wolfhounds are quite large and statuesque dogs. They're one of the biggest and at the same time tallest in the world. Until the 15th century, they were called Irish Greyhounds. Every county in Ireland was obliged to have at least 24 representatives of this breed. It was believed to be the only way to protect a household from wolf attacks. Simba. Some have incredibly long tails, while others have something fantastic happening with their ears, or rather, it's already happened. The ears of this goat from Pakistan are very long, to put it mildly. What's even more amazing is that this beauty was born just a few weeks before the record was set. So these long ears are nothing but a congenital trait. But what would cause it? Scientists have been thinking about this question for a long time, but have not come up with anything concrete. Each of his ears is over 18 inches long. When the goat walks, the ears follow him right along the ground, and there's nothing that can be done about it. The owner hopes that his domestic animal can make it into the Guinness Book of World Records. The only thing preventing them is that there's no corresponding category there yet. The book sets records for the length of dogs' ears, but they've never dealt with goats before. Do you think it's worth adding a new record? Or is this an isolated case that is unlikely to ever happen again? Share your thoughts in the comments. Speaking of dogs and records, people keep track of how long their dog's tongues are and set records in this category. But you shouldn't run to your pet right now and ask it to pull out its tongue. It's not likely to break the record of a dog named Zoe. At the time when she was only 3 years old, her tongue had already reached almost 5 inches in length. I think such body features are hard to miss. Zoe is not a special breed of dog with long tongues. She's a simple Labrador and German Shepherd mix. It's unknown why her tongue suddenly became longer than a soda can. When this beauty was born in the house of the owners, people from the first days noticed that she strangely holds her tongue. It was always sticking out, but at first it was written off as a peculiarity of the bite. As time passed, the tongue became more noticeable. After which, people appealed to the Book of Records and got good news. Zoe's tongue is not a problem for the animal. The dog lives a beautiful, cheerful, and carefree life. Such a peculiarity of the body doesn't get in the way of her living. On the contrary, in many ways, it even helps the dog. Good old Bobby. Dogs are man's best friend. They'll never leave their companions in trouble. They jump into the water and run to rescue them from fire. They can cheer us up and distract us from problems. In general, they're very useful. It's not surprising that a huge number of people have a dog at home. The only thing that cannot please is the duration of their life. On average, dogs live about 10 to 13 years. Parting with a friend with whom you've lived for so long is incredibly difficult. However, you may be lucky enough to have your dog live for more than 30 years, just like Bobby the dog, recognized as the oldest dog in the world at the moment. He celebrated his 31st birthday in May of 2023. In honor of such a celebration, the owner threw a party. What could be better than 31 years spent side by side with a loyal and beloved dog? That's right, only 32 years can be better than that. So we wish Bobby to celebrate his birthday with the family more than once. Baby Pearl. Well, for some people, the choice of a dog is based on its age. For others, the size of the pet is a key factor. Many people don't like big dogs and prefer smaller dogs, such as the Chihuahua. But did you know that in the world of already tiny Chihuahuas, there might be an extra small dog? This little one named Pearl weighs just about a pound at the age of 2. The four-legged friend is smaller than a TV remote and about as long as a dollar bill. It's hard to believe, but it's true. While some brag about their petite size, others complain about fate and say that they got big bones from nature. Among these guys is this cat, who's considered one of the fattest in the world. The big cat weighs no less than 40 pounds. This is not a natural feature, as you might think. It's the result of unhealthy diet, which was kept on by his previous owners. Patches, that's the poor guy's name, ended up at a shelter where he was taken under his new owner's kind and caring wing. They'll try to get one of the fattest cats in the world back into shape. Vets say that it's more than real. Which of these cases surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments and keep watching. I'll show you more giant record-breaking animals. The Dominican Republic monster. The Dominican Republic is an exotic place that everyone wants to visit. Colorful atmosphere, unusual old cars, everything is so beautiful and new to a modern person. And here we are, ready to buy tickets and go to paradise on Earth. But then we see this video. In the Dominican Republic, they found a huge snake which was so gigantic that they could only lift it with an excavator. Judging by the comments of the workers in the video, people were doing their usual jungle clearing when suddenly they came across this creature. Special equipment was brought in to remove it from the construction site, and when they managed to grab the snake with the bucket and lift it in the air, its body was still literally touching the ground on both sides. People were so amazed by the size of this creature that they began to joke that this was some kind of ancient dinosaur survived to this day. It's still unclear what species the giant in the video belongs to. Moreover, there are those who write it all off as fake. Do you think this video could be fake? And if not, what kind of snake did people encounter? It's not just living things that people find, right? Sometimes they also come across discoveries related to creatures that have already passed away. Nevertheless, this doesn't prevent them from understanding what giants walked the earth many years ago. For example, archaeologists involved in excavations in southern Israel told the world about a tusk of a giant elephant that lived about 500,000 years ago. To give you better understanding, the size of the found object is as follows: 8.5 feet in length and about 8 inches in diameter. So far, it's not been possible to determine which species the tusk belongs to. However, scientists have already made an assumption concerning the size of the creature. It must have been more than 13 feet tall and weighed about 15 tons. Researchers speculate that the elephant with the giant tusk might have become prey of a local tribe that lived in these territories at the time. The biggest bear. Fortunately, the research of scientists and archaeologists did not end with the giant elephant. People also found the remains of the biggest bear in history, belonging to the species Arctotherium angustidens. Just imagine a bear which, in an upright position, reaches 15 feet in height. And this wasn't the limit, as scientists identified the creature as a fairly young male. At the same time, the giant weighed about 1,760 pounds. The research said that the creature's skull and jaw were well preserved, and part of its pelvis, a fragment of one of its humerus, and 6 articulated vertebrae were recovered. The bear's fangs were 2 inches long. They were extremely powerful and ready to tear its prey to pieces at any moment. The giant bear roamed Argentine lands more than 700,000 years ago, and its remains were found at a depth of 30 feet. According to scientists, the animals they find here fell into the mire while hunting or drinking water. This is why they're so easy to find, and also why they're in perfect condition. Gertie the rhino. Black rhinos can exceed 10 feet in height and weigh about 2 tons. They're distinguished by their powerful build, sharp horns, and rather aggressive character. The front long horn of the black rhino helps it disperse vegetation, and the extensive lower lip gives it the ability to uproot the grass. These animals live in the thickets, but not far from water. They like to swim and wallow in the mud. In this way, they manage to get rid of parasites on their skin. Here's an interesting fact. In the life of rhinos, there are their lifesavers, tortoises as well as oxpeckers. These creatures peck mites out of the rhino's skin. Oh, I wish mites were bigger, then rhinos could fight them for sure. If mites tried to crawl away, rhinos could catch up with them and beat them properly. Yeah, they would. Although these creatures seemed clumsy considering their size, in fact, they can accelerate up to 31 miles per hour. By the way, Gertie the rhino, which you see now, was capable of exactly this and more. It was filmed in 1950, and since then it's considered the largest recorded black rhino. It's very hard to stand out against such giants, but Gertie managed to do it. Whale shark. The phrase "the largest shark" may conjure up an association with a terrifying top predator, the menace of the world ocean, capable of attacking the largest representatives of fauna. However, as it often happens, expectations do not demonstrate reality. In the animal world, large size, on the contrary, in most cases means getting away from the daily hustle and bustle and fighting for the last piece of meat. Giants are much calmer and satisfied with themselves. They don't like to get into battles because they don't see the point in them, and they don't compete with anyone. They just come, take what's theirs, and leave. The whale shark is no exception to this, especially since it's probably larger than even the legendary megalodon. Well, at least some whale sharks are definitely bigger than the prehistoric top predator. The average length of this shark varies between 33 and 39 feet, although there are giant individuals of 59 to 66 feet long. Just look how huge this shark is compared to the average human. And this is far from being the largest of the species. This is a young shark that decided to swim in the waters of the Pacific Ocean together with humans. If you really want to encounter a whale shark, but are afraid you cannot distinguish it from other sharks, don't worry. If not by size, then you'll never confuse it because of its square head and bottomless mouth. By the way, its mouth has up to 15,000 small teeth located in several rows, which makes this fish the toothiest creature on the planet. It's funny, but these teeth don't play any role in capturing food. Apparently, during the creation of the whale shark, Mother Nature just decided to have some fun. And now, since we're talking about its mouth, let me tell you about how the whale shark feeds. In fact, its name has something to do with it. This huge fish feeds like whales do, by sucking up anything that gets in its way. It can be small crustaceans, krill, plankton, and so on. The whale shark has several ways to feed on plankton. It can swim forward with its mouth open, or it can dramatically open its mouth next to a large amount of prey. The food particles are then filtered through a special filter formed by the cartilaginous outgrowths of the visceral arches. The water escapes through the gills, and the food enters the esophagus and into the stomach. Thus, the whale shark sucks water through the oral cavity constantly and in huge quantities. Lion's mane jellyfish. And now let's check out the giant jellyfish that was filmed in the Far Eastern Marine Reserve. The diameter of the jellyfish bell of this species can exceed 6.5 feet, and the length of its tentacles can exceed 98 feet. Before us is one of the lion's mane jellyfish, predatory and at the same time insanely beautiful jellyfish. The principle of its hunting is quite simple. It opens the tentacles and activates the sting cells. And if for a person its sting is dangerous only by burning and allergies, then for small inhabitants of the depths it's often fatal. Previously, lion's mane jellyfish were considered a relatively small species with a limited habitat. Today, however, they're increasingly found in new locations, which at first glance is a good sign, since the species is not becoming extinct. But on the other hand, it doesn't bode well. The fact is that the lion's mane jellyfish can strongly imbalance the environment and destroy the microflora of seas and oceans that are new to them. Squid from Japan. If any of you happen to be in the salty waters of the seas and oceans, know that you have a chance to encounter a squid. For example, divers from Japan were doing their favorite activity and went down to the depths near the city of Tsuyoka. Quite quickly, they saw the first and, as it turned out, the most important guest of the program. A huge squid, the body length of which exceeded 8.2 feet. This is a unique phenomenon because squids, especially large ones, rarely come to the surface, let alone coming close to the shore and people. This isn't the first time I've watched this video, but I'm still scared to watch this monster of the depths. It's creepy to watch how it slowly swims in the water and moves its tentacles. I'm afraid to imagine how uncomfortable the divers were at that moment. How would you react if you were shown a bat like this? I think everyone's reaction would be about the same. The author of these pictures lives in the Philippines, and he often told his friends that he had abnormally large bats, but few believed him. So one day he decided to prove the opposite to his friend and to the world in general. He went outside and took the right pictures. His pictures did indeed show a rather large mammal that was dozing with its head down. The photo immediately caused a lot of jokes about how such a big bat was the result of a radioactive man's bite. A little time passed, and a picture was posted in the comments where the animal really looks like it's the size of the guy standing next to it. The culprit of the situation, which scared the entire internet community, was the giant golden-crowned flying fox, a mammal of the megabat family. Its wingspan reaches 5.5 feet, but despite its size, it has a rather meek and gentle disposition, eats fruits, and lives exclusively in the Philippines. What a catch! In this video, the group of fishermen was doing their usual and favorite thing. They were testing their luck by casting a huge net deep into the river and moving it through most of the area. Usually, for such a move, guys catch a lot of fish, but this time a curious surprise was waiting for them. Guys caught a giant snake which was hidden under a veil of fish. The creeping creature was clearly unhappy with this, but there was nothing it could do about it. Even giants like it get into trouble sometimes. It's unknown how the authors of the video dealt with the snake, whether they kept it for themselves or released it into the wild, but they were clearly surprised by such a catch because no one had ever encountered such large snakes before. If the previous guys who were fiddling with the snake had everything for the first time, but it was still safe, then the encounter with the underwater inhabitant in the next video clearly did not bode well. The fact is that on one of the farms, after the water broke the banks and flooded the area, a 16-foot-long crocodile appeared, a predator which at any time can leave the water and attack someone. In short, it was really dangerous. Not surprisingly, the farmers decided to call in a special crocodile catching service which promised to handle the reptile. Did they succeed? Yes, the result was positive. Not without difficulty, but still people dragged the toothy and hungry crocodile to dry land, closed its eyes so it wouldn't worry, and began to prepare it for transportation. I wonder if after watching this story, there will be at least one person who will think, why pay money to some service? I would have handled it myself. Sawfish. Yes, there is such a sea creature. Sawfish appeared 80 million years later than sharks. This sea creature is much larger than dangerous sharks and grows up to 23 feet in length. Sawfish have no whiskers, their saws are symmetrical, and they live in sea or brackish water. Such a giant weighs up to 5,300 pounds. In this video, people caught sight of not the largest or the famous sawfish, but it still makes you wonder. The creature was more than 16 feet long. I wonder how strong and ready for such loads should the fishing line be. And the funny thing is, even the so-called saw didn't help the fish avoid falling into the trap. By the way, do you even know why these fish have such a long nose? It turns out that in addition to its function as a weapon, it also serves as an excellent sensory antenna. The bone outgrowth is studded with electrosensitive receptors that pick up the slightest change in electric background in the water and create a three-dimensional picture around the fish. The locator evaluates the size and distance to the prey, preventing it from hiding in muddy water or sand. As it swims up to its prey, the sawfish makes several sharp strikes from the side, tearing the flesh apart with its sharp teeth. This helps both in hunting and in defense. Sawfish have to fight off large sharks and other dangerous marine animals. By the way, if any of you were worried about the fate of this fish, about the fact that it was caught unfairly, you can relax. The fisherman in the video released the underwater inhabitant immediately after the filming ended. Now let's look at how people caught a tiger shark. It happened in the Bahamas completely by accident. The authors of the video were fishing for much smaller fish, having a great time, when suddenly their fishing line literally began to fall apart. They realized that some huge fish had taken the bait. After waiting a bit, everyone on the boat was shocked. People saw a 1,000-pound tiger shark with their own eyes. Just look at those teeth and how big and strong she is. No smaller fish has a chance of surviving against it, let alone people. Let me tell you right away, the authors of this video weren't interested in the shark in terms of profit or food. They just fished it out, filmed it, watched it, and then cut the line, releasing it back into its native environment. That's all, guys. Which giant impressed you the most? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you later.